Zach Smith here with City Manager Tony Carson. He's joining me today to discuss some of the CARES Act spending as it regards the city of Forney. First of all, Tony, thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Zach.
So, Tony, could you briefly explain what the CARES Act is and how these funds are determined?
Sure. The CARES Act was a federal legislation that was passed and signed by the president at the end of March. And there's many aspects to the CARES Act that provides relief to both private individuals, businesses, and in our instance, local government. So the allocation that's determined is by population. So here in the city of Forney, we had a little less than $1.4 million allocated out of the CARES Act that we could spend.
So what are the guidelines for spending CARES Act money?
The guidelines were very broad, Zach, and it's that way so that the recipients of the money are not pigeonholed into one specific purpose.
Gotcha. So these funds were allocated for the city of Forney. What were the steps you took to determine how this money was going to be spent?
What we did here in the administration in Forney is we set up a group to make sure that when requests came from the different departments, we would be able to pass those along to the members of the group to ensure that they're going to meet the guidelines. So that way, not any one person had the ability to say yes or no to the request. We did it as a group so that we had many other people provide their input and expertise in making sure that the funds were spent appropriately.
Those are some of the things you did internally. What are the processes of utilizing these funds as far as clearing it with the Texas Department of Emergency Management? How does that work?
You're correct. Here in Texas, because we're a smaller municipality, those funds are transferred to TDM, and then they administer them on the local level. So any of our expenditures that we were going to be submitting for approval, we would send in through TDM for their review.
So obviously a lot of the funds were utilized to purchase vehicles for the city. What was the reasoning for utilizing those funds that way? Yeah,
about 40% of the funds were utilized for vehicles. One of the reasons are, the big part of the CARES Act is we want to mitigate our exposure to our employees. And that's very important, be it protective gear, sanitizers, equipment to disinfect buildings. But for us, there was a lot of times that we had 3 and 4 people in a closed vehicle going from work site to work site. And so whatever we could do to minimize the amount of people in an enclosed space, that's what we did. So we were purchasing vehicles to minimize that getting 3 and 4 people into a vehicle to go out to work. So if we were able to try to get 1, and in some cases we'd have to have 2, that is much better in keeping our employees safe.
Tony, there's also been some curiosity on why these vehicles have been stored at the police department's gun range. Could you speak more to that?
Sure. I mean, we needed a secure facility to store the vehicles once we got them in. That area is secure, it's fenced in. We're not ready for service yet. We still have to put decals and in some instances some light bars and some other safety equipment on them. So they're at that location being securely stored. As they're getting ready to be brought into service, we're going to be taking them to the different departments that we bought them for.
Well, thank you so much, Tony, for taking the time to speak with me and kind of clarify this matter a little more. Is there anything that you would like to say to the residents of Forney?
Yes, Zach. What I do is I encourage people, if they have questions, as you said, you're going to put my phone number and email up for people to be able to contact me. I would really encourage people, get your information from the source, not from a social media platform.